Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Middleman Podcast. Today I have with me a lovely lady from the USA in Pennsylvania, Phoenix Diamond. We'll get to hear all about her journey, where she's at today and how she got there and anything else that crops up during the show. So welcome, Phoenix. How are you today?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here. So thank you.
And I believe this is your first ever podcast as well.
It is. Yes, it is.
That's
Thank you.
that's awesome. Well, I'm glad I could break the duck for you, and yeah, so we've never met. We're just random Facebook friends.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. I don't even know who sent the connection. I think I sent you one, maybe. I'm not sure. But
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
the universe and its beautiful way of connecting people all around the world.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's very important. And I think for spiritual people as well, it's very important for us to be connected with like-minded people.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we'll get straight into it. Tell me about your spiritual journey up to today. How did that all start?
It started when I was about 10 or 11 years old. My grandmother had passed away. Her and I were very, very close. And I took it really hard. And then I would say about maybe 3 days after her passing, I started seeing orbs. Just I'd be laying down in the bed and then I would just see, these balls of light just pass by. And then I would feel as if someone was like caressing my face. And then my blankets, and I would watch them with my physical eyes. I would watch them just seep down as if somebody was sitting next to me. And it was then that I started to realize, like, oh my God, this is happening. Seeing, and what I picked up on intuitively was it was my grandmother.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, because a lot of times I think when you go through something traumatic like that, it's like, sometimes your abilities open up. And so it started from then on that I actually took notice to, the spiritual world and then things like that. That was
Oh,
my first time.
yeah, that's great. Now, yeah, it's interesting that you said about, it's often these traumatic events that open us up. And I've heard, in the spiritual industry, so many people I've spoken to, my colleagues and everything, and they have got that same example, whatever something happened and yeah, and then they get these, start seeing these things, start feeling these things. Um,
Oh yeah. It's a very moving experience. It changes you. Like when you know what's going on and these things are real, like it definitely changes you. So for me, I think that was like the major turning point in my life. And I'm like, she came back is how I took it. Um, so I believe in soul connections. I believe in the unseen, in the unknown. That's usually where miracles take place. So yeah, it
yeah,
was awesome.
yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like you said the unseen, but the human eye can only see a very limited range of light of what's really out there. Bees can see an X-ray and or ultraviolet, not X-ray. Sorry, bees can see an ultraviolet. There's
Right.
there's so many more spectrums of light that we can't see that are there. So for us to believe that there's nothing beyond us is a bit limited thinking in my view, simply because of our eyes can only see so much, whereas our sensation, our auric field, our energy body can feel so much more.
Right. And I think for me, that's why I love so deeply. Like I love beyond the physical world. When I truly love somebody, I love everything about them, down to the smallest details. And the only thing that really makes me happy is to see people do good.
Mm.
My love is just so massive. And it's the most important thing to me because I feel like some of us have come here to make the world a better place. And so I think having these spiritual gifts, well, you can connect with spirit. So when someone is missing someone that passed away, you can kind of take that bite out of it just being so hard and difficult and you're delivering some form of healing to someone. And I think it's important for people to remember that we're not alone and that our loved ones are there. And so I had a psychic tell me about my grandmother. This was when I was young. They said, just keep talking to her because she's there. She
Mm.
hears you. Don't stop talking to her. So it definitely helped heal me. And, I am where I am today because of it. But I definitely owe the universe everything. That's why
Yeah.
I just do what I can for people. I do my little card readings and it's, all for free. Just
Yeah.
I want to deliver healing to
Mm.
people.
Well, that's great. And just to let you know, your grandma's already with us. So, yeah. Because as soon as you mentioned the grandma, I'd forgot to open up my realm up there. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
what? Because what my realm looks like up there, especially for my mediumship stuff, it's like I've got this shop in the energetic universe, and my gatekeepers are the doorman. They have their pad going. If your name's not on it, you can't come in. And then there's like a little, your classic shop open and closed flip sign. So I just flipped it to
Right.
open, had your name on the list, and put your grandma's name on the list, and she was in. She was in about within about a minute. And then
Oh
as you,
yeah.
yeah, and then as you was talking, and then just getting the tingles, and first thing
Oh,
she wanted me to
it's
do was this. What's that about with your grandma? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, when she passed away, her hand was crippled.
Ah, okay,
So it,
yeah.
it
So
kind of
yeah,
it
yeah,
maybe that's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Because
maybe.
she got hold of my hand and just maybe wanted to do. I didn't know if it's like an arm thing, but if her hand's crippled, there
Right.
you go.
Her
And was it a
hand was
right hand as
very,
well?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
she's doing this is. I know
Mm-hmm.
it might not look like the right hand here, but this is my right hand because Zoom flicks the camera around.
Yeah.
Fascinating, yeah. And so yeah, she's giving me information now. So when I receive information this way, I get sensations in my body.
Oh
So
yeah.
so there
I
was,
could feel it too.
yeah, I feel
Hmm.
there's like was there hip problems because I'm
She
feeling
had
I'm
stomach
feeling
problems. She had a kind of a hunched back. She had like a crippled hand. Um,
because I'm
you
just
know,
feeling like sensations around like the base of my back, just above my hips, almost my kidneys kind of area. That's
right,
that's all
right.
aching as though she's sort of a bit hunched, maybe.
Yes, yes, she was.
Yeah, yeah,
She
yeah,
was.
great. Yeah, and more information will come throughout the show, no doubt. I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not going to let her hog the show. uh,
So,
and yeah, so we was having a quick chat because I just wanted to confirm something before we started the show. And you used to live in the Bronx.
yes.
And so that's obviously a very renowned place around the world. What was
Yeah.
that experience like? I mean, how did you end up there? Or was you born there or?
I was born there. Yeah, my parents they lived there at the time. It was kind of like we all kind of grew up in the neighborhood there, but they moved us out when I was about 10 years old because the neighborhood wasn't the greatest over there. So, from what I know, and I was young, but there was no spiritual people in that area where I was from. There was, you saw nothing but buildings and a lot of traffic and a lot of people walking by. So, they felt that it was time to get up and leave and come to Pennsylvania where everything is just a lot quieter and peaceful. And, you have a lot of property here.
Did you see
So,
a lot of trouble growing up? Like, was it quite rough and or
I personally haven't really seen much because I was always very close to my mom and very introverted. So I personally didn't see any at that time. It wasn't
mm,
until I moved out and then would hear things that were going on in the neighborhood. And like now it's really a bad place to be now.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, because I know nothing about it, and that was one of the reasons why I actually
Yeah.
asked you to go on a podcast because I knew you got that experience, and I'm here to show a different side of the world from people who have
Right.
actually been in the middle of it. And
Right.
yeah, so see, that's an interesting take where you stayed very insular to the actual area. And
Yeah, I grew up very different. I was very close to my mom when I was younger, and it was like I did not want to leave her side. And then, I realized that I had, these spiritual gifts at the time, and I wasn't quite sure what did it mean? What was I? I didn't know any of that back then. I just knew I could see these, orbs going by, and I could feel my grandmother touch my face. Um, but I didn't know anything about being psychic or spirituality. I'm growing up in the Bronx, which I would say, is not likely to have, spiritual gatherings and things like that. There wasn't anything like at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, there were probably
So,
different type of gatherings.
yeah. So,
Well, that's yeah, interesting. Because I don't know if you know of a guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza, whether you've read any of his
no,
books. Well, he does an experiment where a load of his students, they all come together and like meditate and aim that energy and focus on a particular place in the world. And they've done experiments on this, and crime tends to drop down by a minimum of 10% on every place they focus on,
that's
which is,
awesome.
yeah, which it just shows the power of what energy can really do. And, they send loving
Absolutely.
energy and peace and calmness and whatever else. And it's just fascinating. And,
That is.
and
And
so
that's
many,
beautiful.
yeah. And
That's
so
a
many
beautiful
people
thing.
who don't believe it would just go, oh, no, it's just a coincidence. And they'll try and attribute it to something else that created that drop without
All the
just seeing the
time.
absolute obvious.
Oh, yeah. They do that all the time. I think it's hard for people to accept that there's things that, you know, you can't see, like there's things beyond this physical world, and they just like kind of brush it off. Like I'm the only spiritual one in my family,
Mm.
no one else, just
Yeah,
me.
I'm the same.
So, yeah.
Because I was going to ask if your one was that way inclined, so that's just answered that question.
Oh, yeah. No, she's not. My mom is a very rough and tough woman. Um,
Living in the Bronx, I can imagine.
yeah, she had to grow up at a very young age and take care of her family, and she lost her mom, I think, at 11,
Oh,
and
wow,
she never
tough.
knew her father. He passed before, she got
Mm.
to meet him. So she grew up very rough and tough. Where me, I'm like, I'll give you love, and if you need healing, I'm gonna try to help you, and I'm very like just over the top loving. So
Interestingly, though, because like on your Facebook, you come across rough and tough.
I could be. I could
Mm.
be. I could be because I had to learn how to be tough because when I was young, I was bullied.
Yeah, how was
Girls
school?
would,
Living in
oh,
Bronx, how was
horrible.
school?
When I was young, horrible. My mom used to, dress me in like, cute little outfits and cute little fur coats and little pigtails. And, there were a few girls that would pull my fur out of my coat and step on my shoes. And my mom used to say, you can't let them do that to you. You have to stick up for yourself. But at that time, I was so innocent. Like I just kind of didn't do anything. And then, I kept talking to, what I considered God at the time. So you want to say spirit guide universe. And I would say, you have to make me tough. They're taking advantage of me. And I came here to help everybody and I'm getting bullied and why is this happening to me? And so it was really horrible for me. Going to school
Mm.
was horrible. But as I got older, you know, things changed. I was very well liked and the teachers let me get away with a lot of things and then the style changed. So, and then I just got tough. I woke up one day and I just had this warrior energy in me and I was like, I'm not going to get bullied anymore.
Amazing.
So it's a survival thing. You have to learn how to stick up for yourself or you'll be bullied your whole life. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was bullied a little bit at school, not too much. I would have been
Right.
more, but most of the time I was always playing football, like soccer at break times, and the soccer kids didn't want that, um,
Right.
interrupted, so they wouldn't let the bullies anywhere near the place. And so that sort of, and I was really fast at running as well, so they had to be very quick to
Right.
catch me, and I could run fast for a long time, but
Right.
they tended to give up and couldn't be bothered at the time. And I don't
Right.
know about yourself, but growing up in England, there was always one really, really tough kid that wasn't a bully that everyone stayed away from. And in my school,
Right.
that was my cousin. So if the bullies really pushed the limit, I'd go and tell my cousin, and then they'd leave me alone for quite a while after that because he was just a bit. He was always
Yeah.
wanting to fight people. Love,
Yeah, and that's, you learn to either stick up for yourself or if you don't stop it, you'll have one bully, then you'll have a few, and before you know it, it's out of control and there's nothing you
mm,
could do about it. So you have to be tough. You
mm,
have to have boundaries with people and you have to be. So I got tired of being bullied and I was like, no more.
yeah, yeah. No, it's a horrible journey.
Yeah,
I'm glad. I'm
for
glad I
me it
didn't really do
was.
it.
I didn't like going to school. I didn't want to do anything. They made it very difficult for me. So,
Oh, I'm glad you toughed it out.
no, thank you. Me too.
So, going into how did your abilities develop? Like, where are they at now compared to when you were 10?
Oh, I mean, so when I was 10, I would say I could, see those orbs with my physical eyes and things like that. I couldn't see spirit back then, but I could feel them, like if they, held my hand or touched my face. But now I can see them. So, like, I'll have visions. I had two ghosts in my house about a year ago, and I'm going to bed and I hear this bang, bang, bang. And I'm like, what's going on? And then I saw two ghosts, a boy and a girl, and they were pretty young, not too young. I would say maybe about 8, 9. And I was able to see them. And what they were doing was they weren't trying to harm me or make me scared, but they were playing. And they just wanted me to know that they were there. So,
Mm,
like, I can see them now. I can communicate with them. I can get rid of negative spirits on my own. I couldn't do that before. My best friend is a psychic. He's very powerful. And if I was being haunted, he would just get rid of them for me. But now, like, I can do those things myself. And I
that's
wasn't doing cards, obviously, back then.
mm,
This is just something that I guess came to me these past couple months because I went through a little heartbreak. And I went on tarot readings, just for comfort and to see what different psychics had to say. And I was so intrigued. I found it to be so healing, and it
mm,
helped me heal my own heart. And I says, you know what? I could do this. I could do this. I says, I think people like my voice. I think I have a soothing voice, and I want to deliver healing to people too,
yeah,
more than what I was doing before. But I was always that, I went from that girl to that woman. I would take people literally off the streets that were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. And I would sit down, and they would tell me about their pain. And I would say, well, listen, I'm going to give you my love and I'm going to give you my time, and we're going to get you on a better path. So I would take those rough and tough kids and make them finish school and explain to them the benefits of, finishing school and just turning your life around. So I was always involved in something helping somebody. But I think the cards for me, well, if I do it online, my one video has over 20,000 views. I could
wow,
have never imagined that. I just started this maybe 2 months ago. And so for me to see those numbers growing and that people like what I have to say and that it is healing, right? So it's either a form of love, healing, guidance, or support.
yeah,
That's why I do it.
yeah.
And I love it. And I
And
love doing.
is that on YouTube, that video?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I believe so because I have Facebook, I have Instagram, I have TikTok and YouTube.
yeah,
And then I have a 5-year-old. So
mm,
he's constantly, Mommy, I want to do this. Mommy, I want to. So I'm doing all these things. I'm actually creating candles now too, so that I can put them up on a website. I just have so much going on.
that's awesome.
So yeah, so I really stick with Facebook, even though I only have a minute on the reels, but that 1 minute is doing pretty good.
Yeah,
So
no, that's cool. Yeah, yeah, I'm the same. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
yeah.
podcasts.
And when you're doing it yourself, it's a lot of work because my
Yeah,
son, he needs a lot of time and things like that. So I finally, I mean, he's 5 now, so I finally have some time that I can give to myself. And like I explained to him, I'm like, baby, I have to do this because this is going to be our future. I have to give time to this.
mm, yeah, and it's good
So,
that you're explaining that to him at 5 because a lot of parents wouldn't, and they'd give their time
oh,
up or they'd put their dreams on hold, and that's a because what you're teaching then is your kid is to teach your kids to put their dreams on hold, and it's
right.
perfectly okay to put boundaries in with your kids, no matter how old they are,
Oh,
and
yeah. And, I
it
knew
teaches
that,
them
honey,
the right thing.
because I didn't have that upbringing with my mother. Even though I stood by her side, she was very controlling,
Mm,
very mean a lot of the time. So I knew that my child is an investment. So you explain to them about life, the ups, the downs, the importance of going to school and maybe even being your own boss. But I tell my son too, kindness. You have to be kind to people. If you see
mm,
somebody bullying somebody, stand up for that person, go let a teacher know. Don't go with strangers. People, I say, men and women will say, hey, come with me, little boy. I have candy for you, or your mom sent me. So we
Mm.
already have a password that he
Oh
knows
yeah.
this is it. If anybody ever says, come with me, don't go. And my son is very intuitive. He can see spirits as well.
Mm.
He knows when someone has a bad spirit in them. Like he'll say, hey, mommy, they have a demon. And I say, I know.
Yeah.
So to be able to share that with your child, that's just a deep level of connecting,
Yeah. Yeah. I had a very
So,
similar journey with my son.
yeah.
Because he turned around to me when he was 5 one day and he says, "Hey, Dad, I knew who my spirit guides are." And he's like,
Oh, how nice.
and then he said, his name's Heron. So I was like, awesome. And then it just
Yeah.
gradually, over the years, it just got stronger. And he's like you, he can see spirit. In the past, I couldn't. I'm starting to now. I mean, they've always
Hmm.
been able to. I tend, I can literally feel them. Like your grandma's still. Was your grandma almost blind?
I
Really bad
believe she
eyesight.
was going. Yeah. She was
She just
definitely
showed me these
going.
glasses that she used to wear, and yeah,
Yeah. She was, she passed away and her health was really starting to go downhill. So,
mm, yeah. And
yeah,
was she a healer?
I believe so. I
Yeah.
never got to see anything because, from what I can remember, she was bedridden for
Mm,
many years. And so she died when I was like 10, 11. So I really didn't have a whole lot of time with her, but I always felt this angelic. She had a very angelic aura.
mm,
And I would always find myself by her, and she was just beautiful. I mean, her aura was beautiful, very
yeah.
much like mine. So I
Mm.
believe so. I believe so.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because I can feel her channeling energy through me, and just to show me that she could channel energy.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like
Oh yeah.
Reiki, Reiki energy essentially.
Right.
It's
She
got
was
that
just a
same feeling.
beautiful, beautiful soul.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah, yeah. She's shown me that she didn't really smile that much, but it wasn't because she was unhappy. She just her
Yeah.
natural face was a bit sort of. It's a bit like me. Like when I smile, I've got like a letterbox, what I call a letterbox smile. In other words, it's straight rather than your classic turned up.
Yeah. I don't really remember her smiling much because, she was bedridden. And so, she really couldn't walk or anything like that, like if she had to use the bathroom or something. So, like, I don't remember her smiling and things like that. My connection with her is when she passed on.
Oh yeah,
She, that's when it really became something amazing for me. So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. Interesting. My grandma doesn't really pop in. Maybe she's doing other
oh,
things. I don't know. No, but look, I mean, she had 13 kids, so and then something around
oh,
like
wow.
60 grandchildren. So it's
Oh my
massive.
God.
So
Yeah.
yeah, massive family.
And,
But we had a good
and then,
connection. We was considering the amount of people, we were close.
oh, yeah.
Because in England, there's a big thing in England where the what's called the pride of place on the mantelpiece. So
Okay.
the thing it sits across the fire. Whatever's really special sits in the middle of the mantelpiece on top of the
Oh,
fire.
nice.
And after my nan had passed, we went into the house to start clearing the house because my granddad had passed many years before that, and it was just her living there. And I walked in, and pride of place on the mantelpiece was a picture of me in my Royal Navy uniform, and I just like it's one of the most proudest moments of my whole life, just seeing that there, knowing how big the family is as well, and it was just
Wow.
wonderful. And I was just
That
like,
is
I
so
was just so
nice.
touched. Mm,
That's lovely. That's
yeah.
so beautiful.
So that's why I'm kind of like, I wonder why she doesn't pop in. Because
But then
she was a very comical lady.
I also believe they come to the ones I think that need them the most.
Mm,
Like I think they show up more for people that they know need them the most. And I think that's why she really came through for me because she knew I had it hard. She, in the spiritual world, she saw what I was going through and how I was being treated here.
yeah.
And she was like, no, I have to go to her. So,
Mm, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, my mum and dad are popping in a bit more nowadays. They're both
right.
passed now. So my dad came in because I was trying to think of the very first car we had, and I couldn't remember it. And he popped in and he told me what it was. So I was like, thanks, Dad.
It's, yeah, that's
And
so
it's
neat
great
when,
because, like, even though they've passed, you still have that. The beautiful thing about being a medium is you still have those relationships. And even though
Right.
it's not physical, it still can be daily at times.
And I tell you the truth, they still surprise me. Like when I get these visions or like, I mean, like I recently felt one of my friends getting into a car accident and I felt like a punch in my stomach. And then I would say about a month or so after that, he told me he got into a car accident. And I was like, oh my God, like, because when you have these messages, you can't just tell people everything because it can be too much for them.
Mm.
And so a lot of times they're like, but when these things happen, you're like, oh my God, like it's still, some of the things are still shocking. Like when you're
Mm.
psychic, there's some things you don't want to know, like
Yeah,
if
well,
somebody's going to be,
it is that kind of Pandora's box. Once that gift opens, you can't turn it off. And but for
yeah,
myself, I've learned to fully embrace everything. So where I'm at now is I'll ask if I get information, I'll go, right, am I meant to share this with that person? And if they say yes, it doesn't matter what it is, I'll share it because I've asked
right,
permission, basically. And their higher self has spoken to my higher self, has spoken to me and said, yeah, I'm ready for this information. So
right.
no matter how shocking it is, and there are, I've come across some other people who've got challenging gifts. There was a lady friend of mine from Melbourne who knew when people were going to die
Yeah.
and they're going to
Hmm.
pass, but she never wanted to share it. I'm like, but that's a beautiful gift because what you're going to do is give people time. You're going to
Right.
give people time. You're going to give people the opportunity to say things that need to be said. Because how many times have we spoken to people who, have, when someone's died, they go, "Oh, I didn't get to say this, didn't get to say that," and as
Right.
mediums, we can do that after the fact, but it's still not quite the same as being able to do it before.
Right. And especially like if it's a family member or a parent and and I'm starting to pick up on that, like my mother's health is not the greatest. And I pick up on that she'll probably only be here maybe a few more years. And I've been warning her
Mm,
and warning her and warning her. And I'm like, I see you in the hospital bed. Like I could see what's coming
yeah,
and I'm warning you. But she's done nothing to change her lifestyle or anything like that. But at least I know I kept trying.
yeah,
And that's all we could do as psychics is deliver a message or messages. And what that person does with it, well, that's
mm,
totally up to them. You can't
yeah.
force somebody
Yeah, well,
to
that's
do
it.
it.
If they're not ready to, they can hear it, but it doesn't necessarily mean they listen to it.
Right.
Yeah, because interesting
So,
enough, as you spoke about your mum, I'm getting information. There's stomach stuff, interesting enough, the stomach stuff going on, and it almost
mhm.
feels like the central core. The central core is out, and it doesn't
Yeah.
feel good.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
the information we can get is profound and helpful as long as that person actions it.
Right. And it's a choice of theirs, and we have to respect whatever choice they make, because I do believe some people come here and sorry to say this, but they pick how they want to suffer and ultimately die. And so no matter what is said or done before that, it's like you can't change a person. They're on a mission. And it's just like, so, I like to spend my time helping people that want the help,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah,
that
and that's
is
where
going
I
to
went
change
from.
their life for the better, for the positive.
Mm.
So
Because
that's why I just love so much and want to
interestingly
help heal.
enough, what I found is there's so many people in the spiritual industry that don't want help. They're happy to give it, but they don't want to receive it. And I'm like, well, that's just complete imbalance. Well,
Yeah.
I know when I need work, and if I can't
Oh,
do it
yeah.
myself, I will go right, and I'll tune in. I'll go right. Show me who the best person is for this, and they'll go,
Right.
yeah. They'll show me an image, or I'll bump into somebody who's you know who's the one that can help me shift any emotional blocks or energy blocks or currently physical. They're all. I mean, it's all energy blocks at the end of the day, but
Right.
no, I've found that sometimes you can do the work, you can clear the emotional, you can clear the energetical, but the physical body still remains locked. So then you need
Right.
to get someone to unlock the physical part. So, I
Yeah.
used
And,
to go to kinesiologists. Now I've got a myotherapist friend who helps me a lot, which is great.
right. I'm so lucky and so blessed and so fortunate because I know a few psychics and they're very powerful. They work with energy, healing. I mean, they're amazing. And I
Mm,
will say they've been so kind to me. If I wasn't feeling good, if I had headaches, they would heal them. Whatever it was, I feel dizzy, from not
mm,
sleeping right, eating right, because I'm running around after my 5-year-old. They would heal me. I mean, and
mm.
I was good,
Yeah. Yeah. And
and then
I've got friends like that as well, and
yeah,
I'm often that to friends. Um, I
yeah,
mean, I've been doing
and
readings for over 30 years now, and the energy healing over a decade, and mentoring and teaching for over, well, I've just been a natural mentor and teacher most of my life anyway. I was always that kid that people had come to going, oh, what's going on? And yeah, just
I know
that
it's
natural healer,
amazing.
it's amazing what
Yes,
we draw
yes,
people to us when we're a healer.
yeah, and I can't imagine being any other way. I love it. I love doing what I do, and I've had these gifts for so long, and now I feel like I'm putting them to better use because
Mm.
social media is everything. So you make one video, that video could reach thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah, well, that's the
You know,
whole point of this podcast is like, giving people a voice, you know, letting them share their journey in raw format.
right?
And I know that people watching it all gone through the same thing will go, oh, well, if they can speak up, maybe I can.
Absolutely. And I've always been someone who spoke for other people. Like I fight battles for people that can't fight for themselves.
Mm.
Whether
And
they're, have too much emotional issues, no self-confidence. I mean, anybody who needs my help or my strength, because I'm very strong, like I just say, come on, let's go. We're going to do this. And
mm,
I want people to remember one thing: it's all about love. If you love yourself, anything is possible. If you could think it, you could create it, you could bring it into reality. And I got goosebumps saying that, but that's what I'm really
yeah,
doing now. So,
that's beautiful. And it's interesting, like, you only have to say that one smile can change someone's life. Someone could be in a dark place on a day, and you just say, hey, how's your day? And give them a smile, and that could save their life. And
absolutely.
we the modern world encourages people not to talk to each other, to look down at these phones and just not interact. And then when you go up to someone and say, hey, how you doing? They kind of look at you funny, going, what's going on? Someone's talking to me that I don't know, and it's like, accept that,
Right.
accept that, and be open
Or
to
even
a pleasant conversation.
or even when you're sitting with somebody, what I like to do, and they look at me, is I like to hold their hand. When I speak with them or when I'm sitting with, I like to hold their hand because it's a form of love.
Mm.
So a smile, holding their hand, a hug, like I cooked. Today's Thanksgiving, so I'm making everybody food.
Oh, happy
Whoever wants,
Thanksgiving.
yeah, thank you. Same to you. So, anything you do that's positive, even if it is so small, it really is such a big deal. And
Mm.
I think as humans, if we all thought like that, if we could all do little things for other people, we'd make the world a better place in no time.
And it is the little things that make them biggest differences, because it's easier to notice the big things in our life, and it's easier to notice the big things in others' lives, but it's much more challenging to see the cracks appearing before they become the big things, because by the time they
Right.
hit the big things, you've missed all the chances to prevent the big thing. So I focus on the cracks.
I do too. I do too. I'm very happy. I'm very thankful for what I have. I know people that have a lot more, a lot of money, and they're not happy. And because
Yeah.
I tell them happiness comes from within here. If we don't love ourselves, if we're not happy with ourselves, we could be given $1 million and still be miserable.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not really about that. We're taught that your materialistic status is everything that you are. That's not the truth. It's about family, it's about friendships, it's about self-love, walking in your power. A lot of
Mm.
people don't know how to do that.
No, no.
Yeah.
So few people understand what it means to walk in their power. I mean, there's a lot of um, fake media power walkers out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the detriment to the social media side. They can pretend to be happy, then behind closed doors, it's like, all right, I'm going to put a post down and look, pretend to be happy. But people like me and you, we can see the energy, we can see straight through it, going, yeah, you're not happy.
Oh
You can
yeah.
tell t- your
I
ten
look
thousand followers you are, but you ain't, and then it's disingenuous.
or how about this? It's all based on physical appearance. You have
Mm,
these people that have shot to fame because, they look beautiful or handsome, but they teach you nothing.
Mm.
Where spiritual videos, they're teaching you many different things. If somebody says something amazingly intelligent, you're going to think about what they said after you click off that video.
Mm.
But I feel like people that just, do it for the fame, well, after I click off the video, I don't think about you because you
Yeah.
taught me nothing. See, I love to learn. I love to learn about things I know nothing about. I just like to learn and grow. And so when I decided to do my readings, everyone asked me, well, why are you doing it? And what's the reason for it? And I said, to deliver support, love, healing, and guidance.
Yeah.
I want to be that person that does that. I don't just want to be a pretty face. That means nothing to me. It's all
Mm.
about my soul and my willpower to make a change. I want to make a change.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah. And look, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm myself, like my readings have always been healings,
right.
and it annoys me when people come and, oh, I just want to find out this and that. I'm like, so you want the fortune telling? That's not
Right.
my style. My style is I'm going to get into your deep core. I'm going to raise some of your shadow to the surface, and I'm going to help you move beyond so you can, those things that you're wanting, that's when you can
Right.
then get to them. Because I'm going to show you some self love. And they go, no, I don't want that. I don't want that kind of reading. I'm like, well, then I'll see you in about a year's time when you figure it out. And then you realize that
Right.
you want that kind of reading. And invariably they
Right.
come back.
Oh, yeah,
And I don't
of
just say,
course.
I just send them away with love, going, that's fine. You've got your journey. When you're ready, I'll be here.
Right. And it's what comes up for us when we're doing a reading. It might be something that they didn't even ask about, but it's coming through. And as
Mm.
a psychic, we have to say what we feel, what we're channeling,
Yeah.
not what somebody else wants to hear.
Yeah.
So,
The way I always describe it is saying, look, in this reading, you're going to get what you need, which is very rarely what you want. Just be open
right.
to receiving. And as long as you're open to receiving exactly what you need, this will go well. And
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I've had psychics say, we're going to speak to you and you might not like some of the things that we're going to say. And I said, bring it on.
mm,
Let's go. Because you have to hear things in life that you don't like. That's how you learn and grow. So
yeah, well,
I'm
if we're
open.
not liking it, that's where the growth is.
Right.
Get
So it's
comfortable with
like,
being
okay,
uncomfortable is
right.
one of the
Right. And we're
mantra out there.
human. So we don't know as much as the spiritual world does. So we have to be open to receiving. And like even people that say they pray. So what are they praying for? Maybe a car, a relationship, a new home. That's great. But there's something called the unknown.
Mm,
So maybe the universe gives you something you never thought about asking about because in your human mind, we can't comprehend that much.
mm,
You know what I mean? Like the universe delivered me some things I never, I mean, what I'm doing now, I would have never thought this. I
mm.
didn't pray for this because I didn't know that this was going to be part of my journey. I didn't know that I'd be healing, as many people as I am because they come back to me and they say, hey, your post really helped me and I could relate to this and I could relate to that. And I said, sweetheart, that's why I do it. And it gets me so emotional sometimes because that's healing. That's
Mm.
giving some people that lost hope, that's giving them hope. And I think when you share your story and you share your heart, people will feel like, okay, now I could maybe come forward and say, hey, I was abused too, because it's not easy to say that. It's not easy to say I was
No,
abused.
no, and you don't believe it for a while. I mean, I've had my own story around that, and I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it had happened,
Right.
and it took a while to really, all the evidence coming back to me energetically was saying this happened. Because that's the experience that opened mine up at 3 when I went
Right.
through that trauma, and but
Right. It's
I
it's
was
it's
able to look
hard.
back and go, okay, well, that's why I was able to do. I've done the the underworld journey and dealt with demons and
Yeah.
what's commonly termed as exorcism, but I call it entity removal. And I've been scratched and I've had these
Me
physical
too.
experience like you get in the horror movies.
Yep,
And
me too.
when I got opened up at 3, that was the start of that journey. So I could recognize that energies. And
Right.
then through my life and when gifts opening up, that's what gave me the strength to be able to deal with those really powerful negative energies. And for me, one of
Right.
the most empowering top moments dealing with someone's personal entity that was attached was when it felt fear of me, because they feed on fear. So when
Oh yeah.
when a demon entity felt fear of me, which meant it was feeding on its own energy, I was like, whoa, it's like my power level just went. I still always held it in full respect. I still went always fully protected, took guides and everything like that. It's not like I didn't never got arrogant about it, you know.
Right.
But spirit always they teach you and they keep you humble. Because if the minute you're not humble, they humble you.
Oh, definitely. They always do.
I always say to people, going, the people that work in the spiritual industry are doing the wrong things. I'm like, you clearly don't understand the industry you work in. Your bosses are there 24/7. They see everything you do. How can you
Hmm.
not conceive this? How are you doing the wrong thing and treating people that way?
Exactly.
And I'm like, well, you'll get the lesson. You do realize the spiritual world does have a hitman called Karma, and you can't hide from her, and she'll get you exactly in what you think is the worst time. Yeah.
And I think what people don't understand, like when you have an abusive person, a selfish person, a person that goes around lying and they hurt people, well, people don't realize that when you do those evil things, there's one thing that could never, ever happen to you, and that is true happiness, true joy.
Mm.
Because if you realize those people are miserable, and no matter what they do, they themselves can't obtain happiness. So they have to go around and hurt other people and, abuse other people. And that's what makes them feel good. But they'll never have real love, real happiness.
Yeah,
Never.
look, and they've had their own challenges, and no one's born that way. We go
Right.
through stuff that creates that within us, and then it's how we deal with it. And sometimes
Right.
becomes a habit that takes many, many years to break out of. Some people never do, and then some people will go, you know what? I realize what caused that. I'm going to change that, and I'm going to go back to who I was before that. And
Right.
we've all got our own journeys, and I respect that, which is
Yeah.
why
And that's
you
why
can
I
only give
work
them
on
people
myself.
love, really.
Yeah, I do from a distance. I learned
Mm,
to do that from a distance. And now that I walk in my power, well, I can deal with abusive people. And how I kind of transmute that energy is I like to make them laugh.
mm,
So I make jokes, we make jokes, we laugh. And so it really just, them being abusive, well, you can't be abusive when you're laughing all the time.
no,
And so, that's what I like to do now.
humor's a
Just
great
make
healer.
it is, it
Yeah,
is.
because I was
So,
actually at a poetry night last night, and I was going to read a poem about my journey through DV, and I went, you know what? That's my past. I'm done with that. I don't need to,
right,
because I used to use poet when I first started writing poetry. Oh, in my early 20s, I believe it was to get a lot of dark stuff out of me and
right,
a lot of depression out of me, and it was just a release. But that's all in the past. And I looked through all my poems. I'm like, nah, I'm going to write a new one. So I wrote one on the day and wrote a comedy one, and it was received really well. There was plenty of laughs. So that was good. If you write something funny and no one laughs, it's about, okay, that obviously wasn't funny. But I
right.
got the laugh, so it was clearly funny. And it was just about my journey of like when I first arrived in Australia, um, about how there's so many dangerous creatures and everything's out to
Oh, yeah,
bite you or kill you, and people don't look. Interesting enough, you don't really see them that much, it,
right,
but they're there. You only have to go out in the garden, and there'll be something that you've just got to be wary of anything you touch. And it's not
right,
just what a lot of people don't realize about Australia. It's not just the common ones like the snakes and the spiders, but it's also the plants and the tiny little bugs and the things you don't see. There's tiny little mosquitoes called midges out here, and they bite just as bad as mosquitoes. I mean, yeah, it's not deadly or anything like that, but God, it's just annoying.
yeah,
And I know there's mosquitoes everywhere else, but you get savaged. Like, I think I went out to do some meditating with the leading up to the blood moon, leading up to the total eclipse. And the first night I went out, I came back in. I'm bitten everywhere. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, Spirit. I know you want me to go outside and do this thing, but I'm not going to go out there and stand 5 minutes. And I was literally out there for like 5 minutes, and I got bitten everywhere, and I was itching for a
right,
couple of days. I'm like, no, that's not happening. I've
yeah,
got my physical realm here to deal with as well. I can't focus when my body's just itching for 2 days. It's just not. It's
yeah, exactly.
not
Kind of
productive.
takes the focus off of, important things.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in here 14 years and I've only seen three snakes.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, yeah, you don't see them all the time because when you live in, I mean, I'm in suburbia, what would be classed as suburbia. So you're not too near fields and everything, so you don't really see them.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I've seen three. Two were extremely deadly.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They were king. I think, but the two that were deadly were king browns, and I think they were like the
Ooh.
second or third most deadliest snake in the world.
Yeah.
Because that's the
Yeah.
thing, Australia, like out of the top 10 deadliest snakes in the world, there's seven are from Australia.
Oh, yeah. It's a
Mm,
beautiful place. I've
it
never
is.
been there, but I've seen a lot of videos and it's beautiful. But I'd be a little afraid too, because like you said, you have to be wary of everything. So that's.
Yeah, well, there's only like you can go down the beach every day, but
Right. That's true.
depends on but it depends on the time of the year because some years you got to watch out for the jellyfish,
Oh,
or and you go too deep, there are sharks. Well, I'm in the Gold Coast, and
okay.
you can tell when someone's not from. So the Gold Coast has a lot of canals, or the
Right.
rivers feeding into the ocean, and you can always tell when there's a non-local because they're swimming in the canals. Because you don't swim in the canals on the Gold Coast, so it's full of bull sharks.
Oh no.
So they're not
Yeah.
even in the ocean; they're also in the canals. And but that is just Australia. It's just is what it is. Like you want to go for a bushwalk, and you've got to mind where you walk, or you've got to at least take something with you in case something happens.
Right.
And it's just that way. And
Exactly.
or you're lifting up a pot in the garden, you can get bitten by a redback. And I mean,
Yeah.
they're only really deadly to real young children, and that's if they don't get the antidote. No one's actually died from snake, not a snake, a
Oh
spider bite
wow.
since the what is it? 1982 was the last time someone died of a spider bite, and that was a funnel web, and they're like the most deadliest spider in the world. So nobody's,
Right.
yeah, because since they got the anti venoms created, no one dies of them anymore. I mean, if you get bitten by a redback as an adult, it just makes you groggy for 3 days and makes you throw up.
Right.
Mm, yeah,
Well, that's good. I mean, it's a beautiful place though. You just have to be careful and you have to know what's in that area. Like, I went to Florida not that long ago and they have, all kinds of snakes and, poisonous this and these alligators. And I was so nervous to do anything. I'm checking the pools before I go in because you never know. So
mm,
it's so different, but it's beautiful. It's
yeah.
beautiful to be by the beach and in the beautiful warm weather. Oh, it was gorgeous. I
And
loved it.
speaking of alligators, people think Australia's crocodile infested. They're only far
Right.
north. They're only far north.
Oh,
So I'm in
yeah.
the Gold Coast, which is Queensland. There's no crocodiles around here. I mean, yeah,
Oh,
you've got the bull sharks and the snakes and everything, but there's no crocodiles. But you go far north, you start hitting far north Queensland, and
right.
you get the big saltwater crocodiles that you don't get sharks there because there's bloody That's Australia. It's like you don't get sharks there because of the crocodiles. Just cracks me up.
Right.
Cracks me
But
up.
again, it's still a very beautiful place.
Mm,
One of my friends is from Australia, and I said, you guys are so different down there. I said, because, you guys go to like these spiritual retreats and, you're always outside meditating. And I think in the US, I have to be honest, I just, how do I explain it? I don't feel like, that we have a lot of morals here and a lot of honor. And I just have to be honest. It's very kind of like I do what I want kind of mentality
mm.
here. But from what I can see, like Australia is just beautiful. It's just such a different vibe. And that's what I like. That's what I appreciate
Yeah, and you're
versus
right.
over
Like
here.
I could get in a car, drive half an hour, I'm at the beach meditating,
Right.
or I could drive 35 minutes another way and be on the mountain meditating.
That's beautiful. See, I
Or
like that.
or I can. There's every suburb's got a nice little park where you can sit and meditate. So I can walk out my house 3 minutes. I'm at a little park. I can meditate, and it's all green trees and
Yeah. See, it's just like you have a,
yeah,
a couple different worlds over there. That's nice.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting. You can go to the wineries in the morning and the beach in the afternoon.
Yeah. See, that's beautiful. You go where you want to meditate. If you want different scenery, like you said, you go to the beach, you go to the mountains.
Yeah.
It's just that different type of vibe. There's nothing like that really around here.
And there's lots of little
So,
halls you can hire. So
right.
I've got a sound healing, hypnotic meditation, ancestor connection event on Saturday night. And
Oh,
it's a
nice.
beautiful little hall that's, again,
Yeah.
half an hour away from where I live. And there's just so many
Right.
of them. You can always find somewhere to hold. You can create an event and run it within a week because there's always going to be somewhere available for you to do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just like a different world over there, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. So it's like when you're at places like that, you're happier, you're more
Mm.
connected to the world, to spirit. The energy is just different.
Yeah, you
That's what I
can't be
like.
unhappy in Australia.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's
'Cause,
gorgeous over there.
I mean, I'm originally from England, and during the winter you can go out in the morning and go out in the morning when it's dark, come back when it's dark, and you barely see any daylight. And the SAD syndrome was a thing that would make people a bit depressed. And I remember someone talking about it when I first arrived in Australia. I'm like, how can SAD syndrome exist in Australia? You get sunshine all the
Right.
time.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I didn't understand it. I'm like, it's just impossible. No, just look out the window. Look, yeah, it's
It's
sunny.
beautiful.
Whereas in England, you look
Hmm.
out the window, it's dull, grey, rainy. It is depressive, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. It makes you like depressed when you're looking at that type of weather.
So, do you get the winter weather during? Like, are you coming up to
We
winter weather
do.
now, like
We
the
do.
snow?
Yeah, we've had snow. I think it was last week, but like a little dusting of snow. It wasn't like an inch or anything like that. Just a little dusting, but we're starting to get cold here.
Mm,
So, and I think, like you said, it brings on more depression because you can't just go outside. Like when I want to take my son out to go play in the snow, we're lucky if we can be out there 30, 40 minutes, and then we have to come inside because it's just too cold.
mm.
So,
Yeah, don't get cold here. But I know
yeah.
again when they was first talking about winter, and I'm like, what, 14 degrees? That's not winter. That's like the middle of that's like summer for England, that is. But
Yeah.
now I think I've become fully acclimatized now because Gold Coast had what would be considered a cold winter, and it was cold. I felt cold. It was
Right.
still like 12 degrees, or got down to maybe 7 degrees one day, and I'm like, oh, your body
Yeah,
adapts.
definitely.
Mm. And so, what's the next part of your gifts that you would like to develop?
Um, that's a good question.
You did
Um,
say you always like to learn.
to be honest with you, I basically ask spirit to do whatever is in my best interest because again, we can only ask for things that we know about. So, I
Mm.
mean, I could see spirit now. I hear them, I see them. If there's a negative energy, like I said, I could get rid of it myself. So, I want spirit to do something that I can't even think to ask.
Mm.
Something so glorious. I mean, it was up I say a couple months ago, like I got visits from different beings from different worlds that I didn't even think was really possible. you know
Yeah, star
and
seeds.
so, yeah, so I mean, we could only ask and pray for things that we know about, but when it comes to the unknown, there's miracles that we don't know to ask for because then we'd be asking for them, right? So I
Yeah,
kind of just
you don't know what you don't know.
Right. So I kind of just stay open and I know that they have my back and I know when certain things are ready for me that it'll just happen,
Yeah.
because my gifts just have grown over the
Mm.
years.
Oh yeah.
And so, I could sit with a person and say, what's on your mind? Because I have an image of something like, breaking the surface of the ocean and going down, up and down, like what's on your mind? I mean, my gifts they're all a little different. So
Mm.
that's what I say. Like people, when they, think of a psychic, they think we know everything. No, we don't know everything. We only know what we're channeling or what we are allowed to channel,
Yeah.
because we still have to have a human experience because then we would have never gotten in these so-called relationships that didn't work out,
Mm.
right? We would have totally went another way. So, we too have to have a human experience. So I
Mm.
just stay open, honey. I have that energy. I'm like, okay, I know you have my back. I'm open. I'm ready. Whatever
That's
it is, bring it.
you know what, that's the best way to be. That's how I've always been, and my gifts are just God. The
Yeah.
realms and the worlds I can tune into and work with and channel. I've done the off world. I've been working with the off worlders for many years now, That's my starseed side. So, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, the Syrians. In fact, a new guy came in not yesterday. See, timelines. I just don't know what time, not yesterday, the day before. Anyway, a new guide came in, which is the Blue Avians. And I was like, oh, okay, who's that? And I was showing because it'd been coming to me and I just hadn't fully recognized it. And then, interesting enough, a friend of mine was doing some healing on me, shifting my physical body. And my eyes got drawn to it again. And because he was opening my channels up, it was all of a sudden like channels open, like boom, from like, okay, gotcha. So
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk with them yet to find out who they are, what their name is, and that
And
kind
I
of thing,
think
and
I
what their purpose is for connecting.
I learn a lot from like my psychic friends, what they've been through, the experiences, that they've had and things like that. And I listen.
Mm,
I think it's important because we all have different experiences. So that's also how you learn and grow.
yeah.
So I just want to keep growing. I
Mm,
just want to keep expanding little by little. And
yeah.
just because all I really care about it is the healing and giving love and making a positive change. So,
So, have you done
however
any
they see.
learnings on energy healing?
Not really. I mean, again, I was doing certain things without realizing what I was doing. Like, so sometimes I could heal myself depending on what it is. Like if I have a headache now, I
Mm,
could kind of just, see that energy just leaving my
mm,
head and then it'll, go away or, something like small things. So I'm really like coming into my power now.
yeah.
I mean, I've always had gifts, but I didn't know who or what I was
Yeah.
because I'm like, well, I'm more than just a psychic because, I could see these things. And so what am I?
Mm.
And so my one psychic friend said, Crystal, which is my real name.
Oh, yeah, because I
Um,
was going to ask that. I was going to ask if Phoenix was
yeah,
right.
that's my real name.
Okay, interesting. You're the other. Is that with a K or a C?
C with a
Yeah.
C. He said, Crystal, you visited me yesterday when I was in the movie theater, and I felt this, intense amount of love, this angelic love. And then I realized that it was coming from you. And I says to him, I says, but I don't know what I am. What am I? And he says, well, you're basically the goddess of love, in today's time.
Mm.
He goes, that's why, people are so taken with you and they fall in love with you easily. And he's like, you're a healer. And so I sat back and I says, that's what I am. And it just made sense to me from that, time moving forward. Then I started to realize who I was, why I came here, and why it's always been about love for me. Like
Yeah.
love is the number one thing in my life. So it really made sense. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever the universe says, I'm with it.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. Who's the goddess of love? Because there's the Greek and the Roman. See, I normally know this stuff.
Aphrodite?
Aphrodite. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, that's the one I was trying to think of. And there's also, I
Yeah.
think she might be the Greek one. There's also the Roman ones. There's slightly different names, but it's the same energy, really. It's the
Right.
same person, but definitely Aphrodite. You got,
Yeah. So, I just, you have to really be thankful for, certain psychics. I'm not going to say all, but the ones that really do care about helping people. I mean, these men have taken their time out of their life to talk with me, to heal me, to love me. And it's just such a beautiful thing because I
mm,
really needed it at
mm.
those times. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
I
well,
just believe that if we could just all be kind, you never know what somebody is going through.
absolutely. And
So,
and look, we're like any industry in the world. There's people that pretend to be psychic and are doing it
oh,
to,
yeah.
no different to any other industry. It's
But,
got bad ones and charlatans and
mhm.
that. We just find it's more challenging for us because there's always skepticism around what we do anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then that's why, they'll say, well, well, they didn't know this or they didn't know that. No, we're still human and we could only channel what we can channel. There's rules to
Mm,
certain information and then, getting involved in somebody else's life. Like if we're not meant to know or do something, then we
yeah,
can't.
yeah. The spiritual boundaries that people don't understand.
Right.
Because for a little bit last year, I was doing, the psychic phone lines, and all I got was, "Oh, does so and so love me?" And I'm like, encroaching on their spiritual boundaries there. And I think I did it for about 3 or 4 weeks and I just couldn't do it anymore because it's so disingenuous. So for those
Right,
watching, don't go on the psychic hotlines because they can't help you because
right.
they charge you an arm and a leg, and you've just got people trained on there. Not to say they're not psychic, but trained to hook you in,
Hmm.
which then means they're not playing with the proper laws of the spiritual world. They're doing
Right,
themselves a disservice, which means they're doing you a disservice. If you want to go and
right.
you want to go and get a reading, go and find someone that's not on the other end of a phone call, or if they've got a website and they do it over the phone, but it's not through one of these psychic hotlines,
Hmm.
because they're just the energy of them is shocking.
Right. And then, so my thing is, what happens after that reading is over and you're not satisfied with it, or you have more questions and you
Mm,
want to, because people go to psychics when they need healing, they
mm,
need love, they need guidance, right? So
yeah,
that's usually when you're going to go to a psychic, and it's usually about financial problems, relationship
mm,
issues. Is my situation going to get better? So, the wrong psychics know that. So they know you're
yeah,
coming to them because you're kind of desperate for an answer. So
yeah,
they'll hook, line, and kind of
yeah,
sink you, kind of thing.
yeah,
And so, a real psychic is not going to keep chasing you for a reading. And I have psychics that do that. Like they'll say, hey, I'm feeling your energy. Can I give you a free reading?
yeah.
Or, my spirit guides are telling me, I don't even answer them
No,
because,
I actually
you
chewed one out
know,
the other day because I'm a mentor and a teacher of other psychics these days and other masters. I teach, who teaches the masters. Well, that's what I do because I'm able to see people's next level of gifts and help them understand it and help them how to get there and all that
right,
lot. And I had one of those contact me the other day. Well, it was a couple of weeks ago, and they said, "Oh, I can feel into your energy. I feel you're a bit sad." I went, "Well, your intuition's a bit freaking off, then, isn't it?" And then I tuned in and I actually asked my team. I says, "Am I allowed to say something here?" And they went, "Yeah, go for it." So I basically
right,
said, like, you need to sort your freaking life out. Like you're hooking people in and blah blah blah, being a charlatan. I says it's this industry is challenging enough without you making it worse. We're here to help people. You're not helping. Like you do understand,
right,
like if you truly understood this word, you'd understand that you're invoking karma right now. And that life is going to teach you a very powerful lesson soon if you don't change how you do this. And
right.
that never responded, of course, but it's like it actually felt good to deliver that because spirit do put me in the place of teacher sometimes. And,
Right.
and as teachers, we do have to deliver these harsh, the sledgehammer deliverance.
Exactly. That's why I say, they think we know everything, and no, we're humans too. We're having a human experience. So, and
Yeah,
and a
yeah,
real psychic is never going to keep chasing you down for a reading. A psychic is going to say, "Hey, this is my website, or this is what I'm
yeah,
doing. I offer readings for X amount of dollars. If you want one, contact me." And show
mm,
you. They're going to
yeah,
show you some of their work. They're going to have some readings. They're going to have things for you to see. That's why, like, I put up my readings, so they're kind of all a little different. I use different cards and things like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
so
Because
that my
tarot is very
viewers,
different to oracle.
right, so that they can see what you're doing. Do they like you? Do they like what you have to say? And you don't ever go chase them down.
Yeah,
If they want a reading, they'll come to you.
yeah. And for you who's watching and listening, because this does go out on multiple platforms, if you feel like you want to go and find a psychic and a reader, go to one that you're drawn to. So, if you happen to use the internet and you're looking through the list that comes up after you've typed it, go to the one you're drawn to. Because that's your energy saying that's the person with your answers. And always remember as well, when you're going for a reading, that's an investment in yourself. Because you're going to
Yeah.
for a healing, you're going for knowledge.
Yes.
Some I know you give away your readings, you don't charge, which for me is an imbalance, but I don't know your full story. So, it might be balanced a different way. But it does annoy me a bit when they want it for free. It's like you do realize that's our living. You do realize we do this so we can pay bills, just like you go, whatever job
Right.
you go and do, it's exactly the
Right.
same. Would you want your boss to say, "Oh, we can't pay you today. You got to do it for free." You'd tell your boss to get fucked. And we're the same. And our bosses
Right.
do kick our ass when we undercharge or overcharge.
Right
Our
now,
spiritual
for
bosses,
me,
they do guide what our price is.
Right. For me, I wanted to deliver some healing and some guidance. And I wanted to show people, my kind of work and that I do different kinds of readings
Mm,
so that if they like it, when I have, because I'm working on a website, I don't have it fully up. Like I'm creating candles, I'm making them, I'm going to be making t-shirts and all that other stuff. But so if they do like what they see in here, then they can come, check out my website and things like that. But yeah, definitely, you get to a point that you have to start making some money because you have children, you have a home, you have
yeah.
to make
Yeah.
a living. But for me, I'm also going to do free readings for them. And so my thing is readings, but deep, great conversations with me, because there's going to be clients that need a little bit more than that reading.
Mm,
And so when you do it with love and you do it with pure intentions, you're going to say, hey, we could talk,
mm.
maybe this day, this time, I'm a mom, so I don't have that time right now, but I'm open,
Yeah, we're
so
counsel. We are counselors.
yeah.
A proper
So,
psychic, a proper healer is a counselor. The cards they use is just a tool.
exactly, so,
It's for the
I don't think,
person looking at them. It's not for us, really. It's for the other person. We can read. Well, me personally, I can read. I've been doing a little bit of fun with it recently. I've been challenging myself to read random objects when I'm catching up with friends. So
yeah.
recently, I read a mint leaf the other day, a bottle cap. Um, the second podcast I ever did, it wasn't my podcast. I was a guest on someone else's. After the recording finished, I read her hair clip. One of the
Oh,
squeezy
wow, how
ones.
cool.
With on the squeezy ones like this.
Oh, that's cool,
So
yeah.
and I just said like because I read energy, as long as you put your energy on
Right,
it, I can read it.
right, and
And
that's what
it's
I
just
tell
it's a
people.
fun little party trick.
Right. I say when you do this and you're real at it, you don't need like you don't need the cards, you don't need those things. How I like to look at it is it gives the audience something to look at,
Mm,
because people want to see something physically.
yeah.
So, you give them something to look at, basically.
Mm.
So, I'll
Yeah,
do
yeah, and
soul
you got to
readings,
make it fun,
candles.
because there's so many people,
Yeah.
doing cards is a cliche thing these days, and so to do different things, it's just yeah, it makes it fun and makes it different.
Yeah, I definitely try, but it's really all about channeling and what's coming
Mm,
through in that moment.
yeah,
So,
yeah, and you're right.
yeah,
What you said earlier, it's like we know what we're meant to know in the moment,
right,
and it is a misconception that we know everything. Yes, we're connected to the universe, which knows everything, but the
right.
universe rarely tells us those. I've got a very strong working theory that we actually only find out about with everything that's going on. We truly only find out about 8% maximum of what's going on in our life. And that's our own life. And we only know about 8% of what's really going on. And I'm a
Yeah,
powerful psychic that can tune in to find out what's going on. And they just go, no, you're not allowed to know that. Or no, you're not.
right,
Because when you ask the universe, it will give you three answers. Yes, you can have that. No, that's not meant for you. There's something better. And yes, but not right now.
right.
Those are the
Exactly.
three answers those are the three you only ever get. Yes, no, not right now. Yes, but not right now.
Right. And so if we have a million questions, we're not meant to have, answers to those million questions. And
Mm,
that's why I think it's hard for people to accept psychics for who and what we are. We don't know everything.
yeah.
And so if a person says they know everything, they're not a real psychic.
No,
You
no.
know, we only
I'm
know what we're able to channel, and
yeah.
that's it.
We're
So,
only meant to know what we're meant to know for the next step because the
yeah,
universe doesn't want us to look beyond that. It wants to say, look, your next
right,
step, focus on that. These are the tools for the next step. Focus on them and you'll be able to do that at 100%. But if you're trying to
right,
focus on the things after that, you're going to miss some things and you're not going to do that next thing. And then the thing after that is going to be even worse. And,
right. And I think,
it'll be,
readings are, again, just a great way to get that love out, that healing. And, I like to speak with people.
mm,
I like to, deliver insightful messages that when we're done speaking, that they still think about. And they say, you know what? I didn't look at it that way. I didn't think about it that way,
yeah,
because
well,
that
I always
helps us
say to
learn.
people that we plant seeds sometimes saying, look, some of this information is going to be for now, and some of this information is going to be for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months,
Right.
4 months, or longer.
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, I love doing what I do. It fulfills my soul. It
Mm.
makes me so happy to be able to help anyone. You know, when you start out doing things from the heart, you don't realize the people that, you're going to help or help heal or anything. So, I mean, I've been doing things like this since I was a kid, just helping any which way I can. And so now that I own what I am, I know what I am, I could really help people, moving forward.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And the universe is really starting to people like us up, back us up now, so we can create the change. So we can
right,
create these things where people can go to heal and let go of old stuff and be happy.
right. Because if you can't do that, then you don't really have a future for yourself. If you're carrying around, past traumas and unfairness and things like that. I mean, I've been through a lot in my life. And who I am today, you would never think that. And I
Mm,
suffered a very
mm.
long time, but I made it. So if I could do it, anybody's capable of doing it.
Yeah, and those journeys, I mean, I'm proud of my journey because it's made me
Yeah,
who I am today. As rough as it was, and
absolutely.
I've had some horrible times and dark days, and you know, one attempted
Yeah,
suicide, and I'm glad that I didn't achieve that. That
right.
I was able to be, doing this podcast, sharing stories like yours, Crystal slash Phoenix, and having this connection around the world so that everybody can listen. I've got listeners
Right.
in Australia or Australia. Of course, I've got listeners in Australia. I've already got listeners in America. So for you listeners in Sacramento, in California, I'm very grateful for that. And after this, I'm sure I'll probably get some Pennsylvania listeners
I'm sure.
and all the people that follow you maybe on the socials or want to hear your
Yeah.
story a bit more in depth.
Yeah, and so again, never judge a book by its cover because you never know. You don't
Yeah.
know what someone has been through and, you know, this is why, I've chose to stay a good person because we need people like that. We have
Mm.
enough negative, we have enough bad. We don't need any more of that. We need people like us doing what we do. And I know I'm always so thankful for everything that the universe has done for me. That's why doing this podcast with you meant so much to me because it's my very first one.
Well, I'm glad.
And
I'm glad you accepted the invite.
absolutely, anytime I get to deliver any kind of messages that can help somebody, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
That's what makes me happy. That's my reward
Yeah.
to see someone else smile in any positive way. I mean, it just lights my soul on fire.
Mm.
It just This is what I was born for.
Yeah.
So
We were born healers. And
that's right.
for you who are listening, if you don't feel you can make a difference, as long as you've got love in your heart, love is the most powerful force in the universe. Love can shift anything.
Yeah,
Where, if you don't feel you can change the world, try something to change the world and see what happens. And then keep trying until you find the thing that's your niche, your passion. Because if you don't feel your passion can change the world, just try it anyway. Because at least you're doing your passion. Because it will change
yeah,
your world at least. Then you're changing one person, which always affects the world positively.
exactly.
Well, I feel we've come to the end of the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure uh, having you on the show, and all your socials will be in the description. So for you who are listening and you who are watching, would like to get in contact or watch some of the Phoenix his videos and yeah, the links will be in the descriptions of the show. And again, thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. This show should be out just over a week. So yeah, I've got all my guests coming in thick and fast at the moment. I'm doing like two, nearly three a week at the moment. So it's trying to
Good.
keep up with them
Well,
all, doing all the, it's all that background stuff, the editing and the socials to entice people in to watch it and stuff. So
exactly. But
yeah,
honey,
so
I want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and that we were able to do this. So thank you so very much. And, we're here to heal and let's keep on, healing. Let's change the world one person at a time.
Yeah, and look,
Okay?
now we've connected visually. I feel like I've got a new friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for doing what you do.
You're
Thank
welcome,
you.
and likewise, keep sharing that love.
I will,
Keep being
honey.
that
You
big bundle of love that you are.
Oh, I will. You take care, okay? You have a good one.
Okay, thanks. I'll just say goodbye to everyone, and I'll see you in the next show.